Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 75. 74. We'll do a Compound Coalition video. This is Brandon Over.
What's up,
the
everybody?
Tattoo extraordinarist, Scully's replacement for the day.
Yeah, not much of a replacement. But
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. Different genres. So what do you do, man?
I'm a tattoo artist, and I also teach tattooing online. You know, there's a lot of things you could learn online nowadays, and that's one of them.
Are you better at receiving tattoos or giving them?
Definitely giving them. I'm not a big fan of the whole pain process.
So you don't like getting tattoos?
No, I have a lot of them, but it's a different thing whenever you're older. I feel like when you're younger, you know, you have all that build-up trauma and testosterone, and then you get older and you just wake up kind of feeling in pain.
How old are you?
I am 33.
33.
Yeah.
When did you get your first tattoo? How old were you?
I was probably 17, maybe 16, and it didn't hurt as bad as it does now. I know that for sure.
Got it. What's the youngest person you know of ever getting tattooed?
My brother, I tattooed him when he was way too young, like 15.
How old was Sebastian?
12.
12. Yeah.
Wow.
I was 14.
You were 14?
Yeah.
And you did your own?
No.
I got a chick inside that's a, what would we call her? Aspiring tattoo artist.
Mm-hmm.
She's done about 20 of them on herself.
Okay.
And she went and bought a tattoo machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not
Yep.
called guns.
Yep.
We're not supposed to call them guns.
I call them guns, though, to upset people sometimes.
My boy Brandon fucking loses his shit when I say tattoo gun. He's like, it's not a tattoo gun, it's a machine.
Yeah.
And she's done a lot of really shitty tattoos on
Yeah,
herself.
it happens.
She is progressively getting better, though. They look like tattoos now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done quite a few of really terrible tattoos in my life.
I've done many tattoos.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm very shitty at it. Usually it's my boy Derek does the tattoo. He's like, come over here and shade this in, put a little black in here. So I just claim it all.
What would you say the craziest tattoo you've ever done was?
I was present for an asshole tattoo.
Okay.
I was present for a penis head tattoo. He has a combat cock on the head. I still have the stencil.
Wow.
And it always starts with, I'll get a crazy tattoo if you buy me this thing. I'm like, do not think for 1 second I won't buy that thing.
Yeah.
And that's how the first head of the penis got tattooed with the combat cock.
What was it for?
Deuce and a half.
Okay, that's totally worth it. I would get a couple.
Deuce and a half.
Yeah,
the other one, the guy wanted, and all he asked for was this old Dodge Dakota fire truck, which I happily paid $1,000 for.
Yeah, no.
And that was the butthole tattoo, and it was literally they tattooed the inside of the asshole outside, and it's got a pigtail coming up with a flag that says SOE on it.
That's
Out of control. Out of
If you
control.
want to see it, it's on the YouTube channel.
We had to set up a Pornhub channel so we could host it, and they pulled down. We had like 4 pieces of the video on YouTube, and one's still there. It's actually my #1 highest rated video.
Really?
Is the SOE butthole tattoo.
Dude, that is awesome.
Of all the crazy shit. We've done some like legit life-changing videos, but that's the one that has the highest traffic.
That's usually how it works, though.
Yeah, man.
What was the pain like? You mean you were there for it? What?
Oh, he was way fucking inebriated.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
He
That's
was
good.
he was drinking like slushy cups from Sonic full of booze. Like he had so much booze in him, I was throwing his booze away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was out of control.
Did he do anything with the fire truck at least?
No, I don't think he ever even got it running.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. That was his. There's a lot of shit surrounding that dude.
Yeah.
Like I wish him well, and I think his life is more together now than it was.
Yeah.
But he did like some just complacency. Like he had a pit bull living in a house, and rather than dumping the shit out of the house, he was putting the shit behind the couch, and it eventually pushed the back covering of the couch in. So when we finally got in there, when he was evicted, my buddy called and said, hey, this guy trashed the house he was renting from his mom.
Yeah.
And when we got in there, we pulled 10 55-gallon drums of dog shit out of the house.
Holy
Dude, it was like
shit.
crazy shit. Like we burnt everything. We took everything in the house, put it in a burn pile and burnt it. They had to pull, like this house was built in like originally in 1920, and the basement, the floor between the first floor and the basement were like these 4x12s, and they had to cut a ton of that shit out of there to refix the house and stuff.
That
Dude,
is
it was crazy.
wild.
Yeah, they called him Pig Man. He showed up with a shirt that said pig on it or something. That was his nickname, but he stayed true to the name over time.
Yeah, that sounds like now he has a tattoo on his asshole.
To remind him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I don't know how often everybody else looks at their asshole, but I don't look at mine that often.
So he got sick at one point after the tattoo and had to go to the emergency room. And she's like doing an exam and she's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." She's like, "Are you aware? Are you aware you have a tattoo back here?" He's like, "Yes, awesome. I'm very aware of it."
Yeah, he was very on some stuff, so I mean, he might not remember the experience.
Yeah, alcohol. I wouldn't say he was like on dope or anything.
Yeah,
never like alcohol. Never like the dude. We get a lot of dudes that watch our videos and they're like, "Hey, these guys," because like the old videos were kind of like jackass videos and stuff.
Yeah,
and people are like, "Man, I really like what these guys are doing. I want to be a part of it." But they see a sliver of the day. They see the 15 minutes of craziness. They don't see the other 23 and a half hours of actual work.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes with any kind of online platform. They just see the exciting stuff, and then when you get into it, there's just so much.
Like, we'll do these help wanted videos where I do a 30-minute video telling you why you don't want to come work here.
Yeah.
So if you make it through that, you're probably pre-qualified a little bit.
100%.
But it's a lot of young men that are kind of like running from things, and I think a lot of it's like they've been in a relationship and the chick takes off and it kind of hurts them, so they're like, "Well, I'll show you. I'm going to just leave town."
Yeah.
And they do.
Hey, I've done it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done it before, but I've been there. There was one period of time I was a tattoo artist in Pennsylvania, and I was like, "Well, this ain't working," so I just left to Florida.
Right.
So,
were you working on all the feral Amish?
No, but there are a lot of Amish in
with tattoos.
No, absolutely not. I don't think I've ever seen one with a tattoo, but yeah, that's not your perfect clientele.
Would you say more of your clients are female or male?
There's a very good kind of in between. I'll see, like, a lot more females go to my wife, obviously, because I guess they feel more comfortable. But I have a good kind of mix of both, I would say. But I've been in it for 13, 14 years now.
What kind of tattoos are you famous for? Like, what's your thing?
I do a little bit of everything. Like, I'm doing a course right now on, like, realism. So I do a lot of that right now. But Neotrat I like a lot, like bright colors, stuff like that. For about 7 years, I only really did traditional. So that's something that, I could just do without thinking. But, I've done it for so long that...
Is that kind of like your old school pull into port and they've got all the tattoo boards and stuff?
Yeah, big, thick outlines, stuff like that.
Chicks come in and they're like, "I want a tattoo, but I don't know what I want. What should I get?"
Infinity sign.
Yeah. Dolphin.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
But yeah, with all that stuff, so... I've been doing it for a while. I've been doing it in Tennessee for about 9 years, and I opened up my first tattoo studio, what was it, like 7 years ago? And that was probably like the best jump I've ever made. Working for somebody else is cool, but doing it yourself is definitely where you want to be in the industry for sure.
You can make as much money as you want when you work for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the kind of the same spectrum of like you see all the fun stuff and want to live that lifestyle, but when you get into it, like, I could just go to work, tattoo, make some money, and go home. But when you're owning a shop, you see all the fun stuff, living the rock star lifestyle, but you don't see, like, all the work, the back end.
So what do you think, what would you say the biggest surprise was in starting your business?
Just how crazy it is to find information about specifically a tattoo studio, because no one wants you to open up a shop, so no one will give you information how to do it properly, like all the appropriate steps to do so. So you were pretty much like guessing.
Okay.
And through your mistakes, you figure out how to do it efficiently.
So have you filled that niche?
For sure. Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yep. I, give all the information that I have messed up throughout my career so they don't have to.
Got it.
Pretty much.
What's the name? You have a platform for that?
Yeah. Tattooing 101.
Okay, so that's your videos. So I was under the impression if I wanted to learn how to tattoo, I would go start watching Tattoo 101. So it's actually all encompassing of running a business around tattoos.
We have different kind of specific courses on different things. So yes, we absolutely teach how to tattoo, pretty much down from like drawing to tattooing, all that stuff. But we do have a course on like opening up a studio. I opened up my studio I moved to recently in 2 weeks for less than $5,000. So like pretty much anyone would be able to save that up and have 2 weeks to do it. So it was a crazy deadline. I would not recommend people trying that because it was nonstop 2 weeks just trying to get it done. but I just wanted to prove that it is possible within that budget. And, you know, if you only had 2 weeks, you could do it. So
Beg, borrow, or steal. If you can't come up with 5,
Yeah,
fucking,
yeah.
You need to go work at McDonald's.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
So at what point from learning to do tattoos and apprenticing to opening the studio, was it always in your head you were going to run a business?
No, so I was a pretty not bright kid. You know, I felt like I was book smart, but I made a lot of mistakes throughout the way. I didn't really feel, you know, just the same thing. Like I didn't really know if I wanted to have kids. Didn't know if I ever wanted to run a business. I honestly got into tattooing because I wanted that kind of pirate lifestyle.
Yeah,
you know, where I could
yeah,
like, do what I
100%.
want, all that stuff. And throughout life, you know, I grew as a person, kind of got a better understanding what life's actually about. And I got to the point to where I was like, okay, well, I want to be able to do this the way I wanted to. I didn't want to have to do tattoos right that day. I wanted to plan them, do the best work I possibly could. And working in like a walk-in shop, you have people coming in drunk 12 o'clock wanting just the craziest ideas, and you just have to do them for money. I wanted to kind of focus on bettering myself as an artist and just being happier as a person.
Having better clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that all kind of revolves around, you know, when I was working in that walk-in shop, you know, I was drinking like every day, didn't have any time to like focus on, you know, my mental health, anything beneficial for my personal growth. So it was like a never-ending circle. Just go to work, get drunk, you know,
Yep.
same stuff. all
Go
the
home,
time.
drink some more to go to
Yeah.
sleep.
Yep. And wake up the next day. So that really helped me kind of break that cycle. I don't know if I didn't branch out, if I ever would have. You know, I'd like to think I would, but we don't know because I made it out. But yeah, that was a big turning point for my life for sure.
How many employees do you currently have?
So I have 2 apprentices. Actually, the one I just signed off on, what was it, last week? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Are all of those artists, or do you have people within the business that do other things?
They're all artists, yeah. All tattoo. We pretty much branch out all the tasks throughout the days, the weeks and stuff, so we could all get it done. Eventually, you know, having a front desk person would make life easier, but, you know, there's periods of times where there's slow times for a tattoo studio, so
What are slow times for tattoo studios?
usually around December, you know, that's when people are like, oh, I got to get my kids stuff, or
Okay.
the
Christmas stuff.
holidays come around and they're waiting on taxes, so they're like, oh, I want to hold on to this money until I get my tax return in so I can blow it all. And that's probably the hardest thing as a tattoo artist, because like usually I see in the field that like tattoo artists live, unfortunately, like day to day. They make $500 in one day and they're blowing it all, and then tomorrow they're like, oh, I'm back to eating ramen noodles or something, you know. But learning to kind of save up when it is tax time, all that money for the next year will change your life.
How far booked up in advance are you? Like, if I wanted to come in and get some work done today, that probably couldn't happen, right?
I mean, I'd probably stay after for you. So
But I mean, for a person that you don't know.
Yeah. I'll probably be able to get them in a couple weeks. You know, I try not to stay too booked up. But specifically, like, now my books are kind of closed for, like, new people.
Yep.
Unless, you know, they're, like, friends of a friend or someone personally that I know, just because, you know, I'm so busy all the time. But that's just a part of it. That's why I have people at the shop that are able to do the things.
When did you decide it's time to raise your prices?
So I was the same price for probably 2 years ago, whenever COVID hit. So that put a lot of things in perspective about like how tattoo studios ran, all of these things, to where like when we had our time off, we had all the time in the world to think, you know, think back on like how much supplies are, you know, the prices of costs for supplies went up quite a bit when COVID hit, you know, because you couldn't find gloves anywhere.
Correct.
That was a big problem.
Yeah, PPE stuff, yeah.
And, you know, we had a very set amount of things that we could use. So you saw in the tattoo industry, people were kind of understanding, like, we've been doing this for nothing, especially with, like, inflation now. Like, shit's crazy out there. So it got to the point to where, what tattoo artist was it? Someone put out a post stating, you know, what is the basic cost of a tattoo per hour in your, you know, wherever you live. And it kind of went around social media and everything, and everyone was coming back about 150 to 200 an hour. And then it kind of showed all these other artists that were like just sitting around making 100 an hour for the past 10 years of their,
Well,
tattooing.
those are poor people.
Yeah, yeah. And just showed that like this is the industry standard, so it's time to kind of like get on board, or you're not gonna make it.
Or it's just time to have better customers,
Yeah,
better clients,
for
right?
sure. Yep.
Like I'm not Ford. I'm not trying to put a Mustang in every driveway. I have a finite amount of equipment, and if I want you to be a client, I'll call you and invite you to buy my shit.
Yeah.
And that's like, I used to say that jokingly, like my friend Jeremy Horton used to say that, man, if I want you to have my knives, I'll call you and tell you can buy my knives. But he wasn't joking, right?
Yeah.
And when I met him, he was making $300 knives, and a few years later, he's making $5,000 knives.
Wow.
So just having better clients.
Yeah.
And like you said, word of mouth. Like, are you guys on social media? Are you big on? Do you have a big footprint?
Yep,
Who
for
manages all that?
So I managed it for a while, but I just didn't have time.
It's a full-time job.
Dude, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. So my apprentice Zach has a really good background of all this stuff, and we very recently went through and pretty much reworked everything, like the website, our logo, pretty much redid it all to kind of help branding and everything. So we're having our grand opening. What is it, next month? Yeah. Yeah, so it'll kind of like the coming out of the new age of the shop, which will be sick.
Where's your shop at?
Gallatin, Tennessee.
Is it awesome?
I love it, yeah.
How many square feet you got?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's probably over 1,000. I mean, I put the floor in it,
I heard.
but I can't remember how much flooring I got for it.
I like to get dudes that are completely in the best in their industry to come do something completely out of their industry.
Yeah.
James Yeager built all my cut tables.
Yeah.
So that my friend Sherman, who's a orthodontic surgeon and anesthesiologist and shit, I'm gonna have him come in and do tile work for me. You know, some
Awesome.
shit like that.
Dude, all it takes is YouTube. Like,
I heard
watch a video.
I heard you can work in any medium, and I heard your wife as well. Like, you just decide you're gonna do something, and then the next day you're just doing it.
Yeah, I try for sure. I feel like knowledge nowadays is something that you could easily access with literally anything you would want to do.
Yeah, if you can't get it, you're not trying.
Yeah, and that's with like everything, for a while, I'm pretty accident prone. I have quite a bit of stuff come up in my life to where I get hurt.
Didn't you just crash some motorcycles yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday, absolutely.
And your knee.
Yeah, and my knee, which I'm also very terrible of keeping care of thus injuries. So I don't like hospitals very much. So like I've taught myself how to like suture wounds and
Shit.
stuff, carry a tourniquet around everywhere I go, just stuff like that because I know shit happens. So I like to be kind of ready for that.
Awesome. Brian said you're really quick to move. When you decide you're going to do something, all of a sudden you're just doing it.
Yeah, I kind of probably one of my best attributes and worst at the same time, because like when I get my mind to something, that's like literally all I think about, and everything else is just gone until it's done, and then on to the next thing. But yeah, I definitely have way too many hobbies.
That's good
For
though.
sure. Yeah,
That's good,
it
man.
is. I enjoy
We've
it.
we've had a lot of young men coming on. Like we had a guy the other night on the live, and he says, I'm going in the military, but I don't know what job I want to take. I'm like, then why are you going in the military?
Yeah.
And he says, I don't know what to do. I go, you're young and you're unencumbered. You don't have children. You don't have a family right now. And we are so quick to want things without earning them. And I said, man, if you just took 6 months and learned how to weld, and then took 6 months and learned some kind of artistic thing, and then took 6 months and learned woodworking, you'd be really proficient in all of those, and then you could mix those mediums together.
Yeah.
And you'd be like just the top of your industry. When you look at like leather craft guys or EDC stuff, jewelry guys, knife guys, those all go hand in hand. And you have dudes selling trinkets at Blade Show for $35, and you have dudes selling something very similar with a better craftsmanship for $500. You just have to decide which dude you're going to be.
For sure, 100%. And yeah, like you said, it's the same metal. It might be hardened differently or more effectively, but at the end of the day, it's still both sharp
Or
metal.
or they built the name, man. They
Yeah.
got shot up and got in that rap game.
Yep.
And it's like we have friends that are, incredible artists. Justin Souders has artwork in Rolex's headquarters and Hublo's headquarters and all these watch companies and stuff. But the prints, man, when you go and you actually have that signed prints, you probably make more money on the prints that you don't have to put any work into versus the original, which you got, 50 grand for. But over a 24, 36 month period, you made more money on those prints that you did nothing. You didn't have to put any physical labor into.
For sure. That's a big thing you see new artists getting into nowadays is like selling prints online, which it's hard because doing a fully rendered digital design takes so long, like 47 hours of just drawing and fixing everything. And then to kind of turn around and selling it as a print for like $20 online, it takes a really long time to kind of build your time back for money in return. But yeah, I've put out a couple prints, but man, I just don't have the time.
Do you do your original tattoo work prior to making your stencils and stuff? Do you do those digitally?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much everything's done on an iPad now. The whole pencil and paper I did for so long, and turning digital was a really big struggle for me because it's completely different. I pretty much had to relearn everything when it came to like designing, and the main reason I kind of had to do it is bought an iPad, hated it. I was like, I'm just gonna go back to pencil and paper. It's what I know. Sold it to my apprentice, and like in a week, he was like doing just
blasting
craziest
it out.
stuff, and I was like, now I have no choice but to learn. Like, I can't let him show me up.
So you don't even have to really do tattoos much anymore. You don't work on clients very much?
I do every Saturday, Sunday. I'll do that because I pretty much throughout the week, work on teaching students, doing all that stuff. But I want to constantly be able to, tattoo and kind of have be in my studio as well because, things run better whenever you're there,
I mean, it's amazing how that works. You don't even have to, you just have to physically be present.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they could, you just have a picture of yourself. It doesn't even have to be you.
Yeah, 100%. You just have to have those eyes on your
it's
your
weird
place.
how that works.
Because you go away for a week and it's like...
Yeah, the biggest frustration is employees.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Can you bring our temp back down? I'm burning up in here. So how long do you see yourself remaining in the tattoo business? Is that a lifetime thing, you think?
Yeah, for sure. I'll always have a presence just because I wouldn't necessarily say that I chose tattooing. It kind of was just handed to me necessarily. I had to put in the work and everything, but I went to college for graphic design and photography, and I hated it.
Really?
Like I could not stand it. Like I remember I was in the black room where you have to like do your photographs, make them into pictures. And there was this girl that just always like, make out with me and stuff in there. So I failed.
I was just thinking that when
Yeah.
you said that. I'm like, I'll bet he's seen some naked bitches in the dark room.
Yeah, but failed completely because that's all I did, and didn't really try to learn it. It just didn't interest me. So after that, I was like, what am I gonna do? Like I have, past high school, but I want to get into art, but I don't want to be a starving artist anymore. Because there's really 2009, either you got into graphic designing or got a break being a photographer and you're making a good living, or you're living paycheck to paycheck and pretty much starving. And it's kind of the same for tattooing, but at least I was like, well, I could kind of make my own schedule at least doing that. So I'm just going to invest my life into that, and it luckily worked out. There was quite a bit of struggles that came along with it, but I made it happen.
Did you go buy a machine and just blast something in somebody, or did you do the apprentice route?
Both. I originally was like, I bet you I'm good at this. I've been doing art my whole life, and my first tattoo I ever did was right there. That's why I blacked out this part, because I did this whole sleeve, which is a terrible idea. Don't do that.
Don't do your
No,
own
it
sleeve?
is miserably terrible idea, because you can't stretch it. It's just the worst. Like, do your legs if you want to. Don't do your arm. But, yeah, it was terrible, but at that point of time, I was like, dude, this is great. Like, I'm so good. I'm going to be like the next, famous tattoo artist. And I tattooed my brother a ton. I remember there was this one story. I was tattooing his elbow. Really hard place to tattoo. And I was just so if I could have the confidence I had back then at that young age of 18, just crisp, dude. I was like, bro, this is going to be the best tattoo you've ever seen. I got done with the tattoo, and he looks at it, and he's just like, It was just terrible.
Yeah, he
Just
wanted a cat, and
Yeah.
you did something that resembled something
it
completely
was
different.
so bad. And I was just like, dude, this is the sickest thing you've ever seen. Come on now. But yeah, it's crazy to think back on where I came from to now.
Does he still have them all?
Yeah, I covered up quite a few of them, but he won't let me cover that one up because
That's
he said
awesome.
it was going to be the best one ever.
What's the craziest tattoo you've ever done?
Craziest tattoo I've ever done? That's really hard because I haven't had the pleasure of tattooing a butthole. I will say that I've never done that.
Some would say it's not a pleasure.
I know, that's why
I
said
feel
it the
like
way-
they're overreacting there.
Yeah.
I was there when it happened.
Yeah, I don't think it would be too bad. I also don't want to find out. But craziest tattoo I've ever done was probably, let's see here. I guess I haven't really done crazy, like wild, but I've done, the craziest I would say is the whole getting your boyfriend's name tattooed on you after knowing him for 2 weeks, you know. I would say that's the craziest.
I have a few of those out there.
Yeah. I've had a few as well. But I'm a tattoo artist. I could cover them up. So, like,
Right.
you know, it's,
No, not on me. There's a few women running. I like to think my name's still there.
I've had a few on me.
Got it.
But just a part of it. Part of the territory.
So you didn't really plan to be a tattoo artist, and now that you are, you're looking at doing other things. So is this a transition, or is it just to the point now where you have enough money to do other things, or you just kind of wanting to just try different fields, or like, because you're huge into guns, right?
Mhm.
You're a big gun dude.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like if you could just be a gun guy, that's what you would do.
Yeah, I really do appreciate, you know, that side of things. I would say that the biggest problem is the way that I look.
But I don't think it is anymore, man.
Not anymore.
Now, I
but-
mean, now everybody's got fucking face tat. Like
Yeah.
10 years ago, I'd have been like, I don't know if I want to let that guy
Yeah.
in here. He's
No,
got
for sure.
tattoos on his forehead.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's definitely changing, but like to be at the point to where people would respect your advice and want to listen to you about specific things, I would say, even personally, I would rather maybe not go through someone that looked like me, because like there's still.
I think the stigma's gone, man. Social
No?
media has really removed the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
You have access to literally
That's
anybody.
true. Yeah.
And with social media the way it is now, man, it doesn't matter what you look like if you have the skills.
Yeah.
And especially when you start talking, man. If you know this, if people are coming to you for reviews and numbers and shit, if you've got the numbers and you can
Yeah.
flow them off, or if they want to see you shoot and all they hear is ting 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 ting.
Yep.
And Brandel can tell you. You might not even have to hit the targets. He can put them in post and make it sound like you hit some of the targets. They can speed you up
Yeah. Make it happen.
and put
Yeah.
in Star Wars gun sounds.
Yeah, that's even better.
So what would you want to do? Like if you were launching a YouTube channel, what would the genre of the gun industry be for you?
I don't even really know. You know, I just got my first silencer, which was crazy. I was, you know, not really sure if I get approved for it because I've never done it before, and that's always kind of sketchy working in that spectrum of things.
Now you can have machine guns.
Yeah, that's I think a whole different tax stamp, but that would be fun.
But if they'll give you one, they'll give you the other.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. Is that not how that works?
I don't know.
Pretty sure that's how that
I
works.
guess we'll find
Costs
out.
more.
Yeah. But I really do enjoy the gun aspect of things, but I think I also enjoy like the kind of mental preparedness of like prepping and like doing that in a structural way, or like I like to try a couple different kind of aspects of everything. So like camping, you know, sometimes I'll do like say I have $20 and I'll go to, there's a couple different guys on YouTube that's done this, so this wasn't my idea at all, but like go to Family Dollar and you have like a set money amount, and then just go in the middle of the woods and survive for, let's say, whatever many days, 3 days with
Yep.
literally all you have with that. I really enjoy doing things like that, so I feel like that would be content that I could do when I'm already doing it, which would be
So
cool.
you can do any content. That's
Yeah.
the thing, right?
Yeah.
You can you literally do anything you want.
Yeah.
And if you do what you truly believe is the right thing, the right people will show up
Yeah.
for that content. And then exponentially, they're going to tell 2 or 3 other people about it. So you've already got like the overland rig.
Yeah.
So you can already integrate the truck stuff and the truck camping and all of that. And the firearms go hand in hand with
Yes.
that. And then you could go and do, we got $100. We're going to go to Harbor Freight. We're going to see what we can get at Harbor Freight, Lowe's, and Tractor Supply for $100. And we're going to do the most advanced preps we can do with $100 on the homestead. And then the most, what if this would overlap into weekend truck camping or weekend, bushcrafting.
Yeah.
And the more knowledge you have, like get with David Canterbury and Pathfinder School and stuff, the more knowledge you have, the less of that shit you have to have anymore.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's so talking about guns for a second, what's your everyday carry firearm?
I'm prohibited.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have a firearm.
Really?
Nope. That's why I moved to Tennessee, because TAC Response is here. So I had a lot of gunmen around me, people with guns. So until I had all my stuff and, taken care of down the road, I went, 20 years after federal prison, 3 years probation in California, moved here because TAC Response was here. So my kids are
Okay.
super trained up, who are all adults now, and they all have their own firearms. My wife is super schooled up. And then we just have, did we just lose power?
Was that thunder?
Yeah, we're under a tornado watch.
I wonder if it hit something with that.
Was that a thunder strike?
Yeah.
Let's pause for a second, see what's up. All right, we're back. So, if I was going to EDC, it'd probably just be Glock 19. I'm not aware of what's out there in the last lot of years, but I know Jaeger always carried 19s, and every night somebody's like, "What gun should I carry?" And the answer is, "Why don't you have all of them? Like, get whatever you want."
That's what I try.
And everybody's wants to do their John Wick shit or whatever, but at the end of the day, you take a Glock 19 and after the great next Civil War, and it gets found 200 years from now at the base of a tree, they'll dig it up, and that motherfucker will still work.
Yep. 100%. I was a big Glock dude for a very long time. I recently switched over to the Springfield Hellcat Pro.
I have to do that every time somebody says Hellcat.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
What's
like
that
it a lot.
SIG? SIG's got some fucking super laser pistol gun out there.
I don't know. I'm not a big SIG fan. Just the whole problem of them just going off if you drop them thing.
What?
Yeah, that was
They just go off? Like you have it sitting on it just discharges itself?
that was a big thing a couple years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
Where somebody dropped it and it just bang.
Huh.
So I try to.
Sure their finger wasn't in there?
I'm pretty sure. I wasn't there, so you can't quote me on it. But that's kind of sketchy.
Okay.
I don't like to hear things like that.
So what are you carrying?
Hellcat Pro.
You got it with you right now?
I have it in the truck.
A lot of good that's gonna. What if ninjas come in here?
I'm pretty confident that I could pick up one of them cases. And
You're gonna sprint halfway across the building,
Absolutely.
get the fiberglass
And
case.
If we're being honest, if I was to go out, ninjas would be my probably number one pick.
Yeah.
So I'd be
Ninjas?
okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be on camera. It would be pretty cool.
Because your cardio is good, so it's not gonna be zombies. You got
Yeah.
rule number 1
Yeah.
handled.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about it.
Got any jiu-jitsu or anything? Any hand combatives and stuff?
I went to I was in jiu-jitsu for about 5 years, and then did karate when I was younger. I liked it for kind of like the mental side of things. I wouldn't necessarily say it would help me.
No, but I think every kid should have some kind of
Yes.
foundation in combative martial arts.
Yeah, it is
Just for the
definitely
bullying aspect, and then tumbling probably as well. Learn how to take a fall and
important.
stuff.
Yeah, it is important. I would say for someone my stature, jiu-jitsu is probably your best bet. Because bigger people are going to hit harder.
Yeah,
Also
and I mean,
slower, but-
who's most apt to get? Who are you most apt to have some issue
Yeah,
with?
yeah.
Usually, it's alcohol involved.
Yep.
They're already a little off balance or whatever.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So,
to be able to throw that in there.
yeah, 100%. Use their weight against them would be the easiest option instead of trying to go hand to hand. Because you could be one of the best fighters on the face of the earth, but if you're having an off day and get hit right, you're out.
Or you just don't see it coming.
Yeah, it's kind of a gamble, and I'm not a gambling type, so.
So, in addition to your pistol for EDC, what else do you carry typically?
So what I have on me beside obviously the pistol right now is keys, wallet, a little tourniquet that I like.
Yeah, I've got a few of those. My
Yeah.
buddy Chuck just gave me some of those.
Really? Yeah, dude, they're awesome. I got this one on Amazon, and they fit in a mag holster. So like if you have the appendix carried with the extra mag, you can put it in there. So that's the tourniquet I carry around, super easy. Then I got my what is this thing called? A Gerber.
That's a big one.
Yeah, but I never know what I'm going to get into that day, so I need something that has everything.
Do you use everything in there?
I pretty much do. I've actually never used the flathead before, but I changed the outlets in my shop and used it the other day.
Really?
So I did use that one.
Man, I went looking for a pair of pliers when I had a Leatherman in my pocket.
Really?
I'm like, a pair of pliers is still better than this Leatherman.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say that I carried around a Leatherman for a really long time. Never used it, but this one was given to me, and I guess it's don't buy one. Just have them given to you, and then
you'll use it.
Yeah, and I haven't lost it. Like I went through so many of these and lost them in like a week, and then I'm like, I'm not meant to carry one of these. Then one was given to me. This is like month 2, and I keep track of it. I've left it on my truck, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get that.
So do you carry a knife also, or is the knife in there?
The knife in there is definitely really all I've needed per se, but I got pretty much everything in my truck. So my EDC will kind of change depending on where I'm going. If I'm just going to the shop, I know that this is pretty much what I carry, because I know that I have a firearm in the shop. I don't necessarily have to have it on my person. It's in my station. I have enough in the truck, so I'll keep a long rifle in a specific area in my truck that's hard to find, and med kit all the time in my truck, to where it has like tourniquets, at least 2 in there, chest seals in case you get a puncture in the stomach or something, sutures, basic odds and ends of like in case you fractured a leg. It has one of those. I forget the brand, but you could just wrap it around.
Sam Splint.
Yeah, Sam Splint. Just the basic things that you might need.
We gotta get you into our buddy's medical class.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah,
I'd love that for sure.
They do a in Ohio, but they do a live tissue lab.
Yeah.
So they come in, they sedate the pig, and then they shoot the pig, and then you have to work and cut down the pig and sustain the pig, and like you're working on a live animal.
Yeah, that's wild. Brandon was telling me about that.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah.
We just did a super modified tourniquet class. It was only an hour long. But we had a bunch of the Homestead Apprentice candidates were out here 3 weekends ago. And Chuck had them put on a tourniquet. Most of them had done that. A lot of the guys were prior service and stuff. He's like, okay, now put it on your leg. Whole different animal. And then he's like, okay, now lay on the ground on your stomach and put it on your leg. And then spin them around, get them disoriented, get them dizzy. And like almost all of them died. Like not for real died, but I mean, they would have died. They couldn't get the tourniquet on once they're dizzy.
So the reason I carry a tourniquet all the time now. So back when I was drinking before I completely stopped, tourniquet actually saved my life. I was chopping firewood
because I was always firewood,
dude, every time. And it was like this axe that I was getting into forging, so I was making knives and axe heads and stuff, and put so much time into this axe head, and it was super sharp, like sharper than an axe needed to be. It was like a refined knife at this point. And the wood was soggy, and I went like, just trying to show off with my new axe that I made, and just went straight through the wood, straight into my shin.
Holy shit.
And it stuck in there, and I was like, shit, okay. And put it out, blood just started flowing everywhere. So I was like, okay, don't freak out, lay down, kind of focus on my breathing. And my wife was inside, and my mom was there. So she saw the whole thing happen. She was freaking out. And I was like, Mom, go get Waylon. So very calm. She comes outside and she was like, what's going on? I was like, get my tourniquet. That's what I need right now. She was like, do I call 911? I was like, tourniquet first.
Yep.
This is a problem at hand. She went and got it. I put it on. And, mothers, when they're freaking out, it's a different situation. She was like holding it and like putting pressure. And I was like, Mom, the tourniquet's on. But I was like, focusing on not passing out or getting sick, because I could feel it like come in waves.
Yeah.
So I was just like, let her do her thing. They'll be here soon.
Plus, it gives her a task.
Yeah.
It keeps her from panicking.
Yes, but I will say, whenever the EMS did come and the blood started to coagulate and stick her hands on there, when she tried to pull off, they were stuck.
Oh, shit.
So when she ripped that off, man, I saw stars. I was like, don't pass out.
So from time of injury, how long till EMS arrived?
I would say it was fairly fast. It's hard to put an exact time. I know I still have the tourniquet with the time on it, but I would say probably 15 minutes.
Okay.
But I was just
And you wrote the time on the tourniquet?
yes,
Awesome.
yep, because
So once you got there, they started working, and you don't ever release the tourniquet. They didn't just take the tourniquet off at that point, right?
no, and I know I did it correctly because they tried to tighten it more, and I was like, that's not gonna work, and they were like really trying.
One
I was
crank
like,
pass
yeah,
motherfucker,
And
yeah.
I was like, I told you, you just trying to hurt.
I got this
somebody.
part
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and but yeah, so I know I did it good.
So
and,
was there surgery, or what? How'd they close that? What happened?
they had to suture it. I think I got 8 stitches, and then I had to get back 2 days later because they were like, stay off it, all this stuff. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And I was making a big fire and dropped a pallet right on it.
Holy shit.
Dude, it swelled up so bad with blood. My shoe was filled with blood, and I was just like, I saw it, and I didn't want to freak my wife out again because this was like 2 days after the big event. So I went and talked to my buddy, and I was like, hey, come here, I want to talk to you real quick. And I was like, look down.
Does
And he
this
was
look
like,
bad?
Yeah. He was like, oh my God, we got to go to the hospital. I was like, I know, just like,
Don't tell them.
Yeah, go tell her in a very, like, it's not bad, in a very easy way. And went back, and I had to open it up again, and like I was laying down, and literally blood was just from all the pressure, blood was squirting like 7 foot.
Oh,
Just-
wow.
and
So
with my heartbeat.
So you had a vein or something in there
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
ruptured.
Yeah, and they opened it back up, cleaned it out, sutured it again, and then I was like, maybe I need to calm down at least for a week.
Yeah, they might should
before-
sedate your ass.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I'm really bad with it, but luckily, yeah, I get into these really stupid situations, but I always find my way out, and it doesn't take me super.
My
crazy.
phone calls always start with everybody's okay,
Yeah,
but I need you to ABC, right? I need a flatbed trailer. I need a helicopter. I need whatever it is. Hey, I'm on the way to the emergency room. I'm in the helicopter on the way to the emergency room. That's how they always start.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay. But
yeah, it's
so it sounds like nothing probably surprises her at this point.
absolutely not. No, like when I wrecked the motorcycle yesterday, I just walked in, and she was like, "Oh, do you like it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I wrecked it twice." Just nonchalant, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." She was like, "Wow, this is not a good idea at all."
Were you okay?
Yeah.
Was the
I mean,
bike okay?
Yeah, dirt bikes are pretty easy. Now, if I wrecked my Harley or something, that'd be.
So we went from, I still have a bunch of dirt bikes, but we went to side-by-sides because we have flipped a side-by-side end over end 3 times in a row, like broke the car in half, ripped the wheels off, fractured a wheel into 3 pieces. And that phone call always starts with, hey, I'm okay, but I need something with a winch on it, right? We have to winch this onto the trailer. And we've broken all those cars to the point that they're highly modified now, like literally put new subframes and shit in them and
You are
suspension
letting 'em
kits.
rip.
And we walk away from that shit.
Yeah.
Whereas on a motorcycle, you would not be. It'd be a helicopter ride.
Yeah, no, 100%. I try to, even just riding a motorcycle now. I have a Harley, and I've built Harleys just like Brandon was telling you. I kind of get my mind to something and just do it. I've built like a 1976 shovelhead Harley from like ground up. It was in boxes, and even just riding a bike nowadays, like sketchy.
You have to be cognizant because
Yeah.
it's not you anymore.
Yeah.
It's not even the grass clippings or the loose gravel, man. Everybody's on a fucking cell
Yeah,
phone and they are
24/7.
not looking for your ass.
No, and even in a car, like the amount of times that I've almost wrecked from someone just being on their phone, and the craziest shit, they'll look at you and then just be like, oh, and then just go back to the same thing like nothing ever happened. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I've got a bunch of bikes and like every now and then, maybe once a year, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put my boots on and put
Yeah.
my shit on and take the bike out, and we'll get the bikes out. And luckily, the batteries are always dead, so
Yeah.
it's quite a production, so it doesn't happen often. But like Cody was saying today, he's like, I want Dad's R6, and he's got a 636. He's got a great bike, but like my heart just sank when he said, "Man, I want to ride my motor. I want to ride motorcycles again." And my heart just like, fucking like, man, I'll buy you anything else not to ride
yeah,
motorcycles.
it's sketchy, man. It's so hard because just a little hiccup of someone else's mistake could end you, and it's scary.
Yeah, I'm friends with this dude on Instagram, Titanium Tarzan, little black dude. and he's super fast on the track, like road race kind of bike
Yeah.
stuff. And a car fucking hit him, and he ended up like, there is video out there all over his social media of them amputating what's left of his leg.
I think I've seen him.
And then putting the
Yeah.
prosthetic on and stuff. And I just reached out to him a bunch of times. I'm like, man, I love your content and your message. And we just talked back and forth a bunch. But man, when he went out that evening, he did not plan on his life being altered in that manner.
Yep. He still rides too.
He
right?
does, yeah.
I've seen him before.
Yeah,
Yep.
he sure does, yeah. And
That's
his
crazy.
wife's still with him. And like, man, you never know when you go through an incident like that how your life is going to unravel.
Yeah, for sure. And
And you have no control over it.
you really see the people that are there for you in instances like that.
Yes, immediately.
I always like to say, if you have a good life, you really don't know who's there for you or not. Like, you kind of have to go through struggles to truly understand the people you have around you.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to go through struggles to even have your story, really.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so many dudes are like, man, I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like, man, that's the early part of your story.
Yeah.
This is the foundation. Batman didn't start out as Batman. His parents got killed in front of him and the watch was stolen. It's like Rogan said, do everything in your life as though a camera crew's following you around, and you're never going to regret anything that you did. You have to have, nobody wants to watch that superhero movie where he just starts out and he's just the superhero of the whole movie.
Yeah, for sure. You have to have the origin story, and that's what life is.
Yeah, very much so.
It's all our origin story.
So back to the gun stuff, you're going to start a YouTube channel, or you have one already?
Yeah, I don't have one. I've been debating the idea. The biggest thing is time, and I do really enjoy that side of things. I just don't necessarily know how I would want to approach it yet, or kind of like the biggest things that I wanted to do. I just don't want it to become another hobby. I want it to become, something that I could enjoy doing for a long period of time, because I have a big problem of starting things, and once that thing is complete, lose interest. And like, with building motorcycles, they're like, oh, I'm going to build this bike from scratch, and then I'm going to ride it all the time. I built that shovel head. It has not moved in the location since I got it running 1 inch. Like, Randall sees it every day. He comes over, and it has not moved a millimeter.
Did you enjoy building it?
I do. I am I'd say a tinker at heart. And then when the projects are done, it's like, what can I do next? I just need to be doing something. So like the outcome doesn't necessarily excite me.
So maybe that's the YouTube channel.
Yeah, true.
Maybe it's not maybe it's everything all inclusive that is you.
Yeah, that would be super cool. So it doesn't have a specific.
I've been following these guys. I think they're on YouTube. I've been mostly watching their short form stuff, but they bought an old leatherworking factory. Like, they bought a whole factory, like shipping containers worth of shit. And it's not called Better Every Day, but they're basically trying to make this tote bag from bison hide. And it shows them every day the progression, how they get a little better. And they're like, nope, but this one's not ready to go. And they throw it in the garbage can. And they got garbage cans full of all this shit. But now they're to the point, and they're like, we have it. We're going to build these bags. This one, it's a trip that this one's going to Oregon and this one's going to Seattle. And they've got a product. And he's like, next week we're retooling, and all we're building is belts next week. And it was just these couple dudes, man. And just to watch the progression of U.S. manufacturing, and these guys figure out this equipment that was made in like between 1920 and 1950. And they had never sewn anything ever before in their lives. And here they are building these things.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's a good point that I want to bring up. Is sewing is such an important skill that everyone should know. And I've brought it up in the regular conversations before. If you say that you could sew as a man, why is that a negative thing?
But I don't think I think we see it as a negative thing. It's that the people that are going to make you feel negative about that, those are low performance people, 100%. Right? You clearly know when a motherfucker gives you, no matter what it is, you say, I'm going to learn how to do this thing. And somebody's like, that motherfucker should be nowhere near you. They should not have any access to you. You want people around you where you're like, I think I'm going to learn how to paint like Michelangelo, and I'm going to repaint the Sistine Chapel. You need a motherfucker's like, yeah, I could totally see you doing that. Those are the people you need around you.
Yeah.
Not the dudes that's like, you'll never do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. You need people that will build you up. I found the biggest stepping stone of my life is surrounding myself with people that not only uplift you, because you need people to put you in your place sometimes too.
Sure, check you.
Yeah, and just be honest about that. I feel like some friendships out there, there's that disconnect of them not wanting to be mean, so they'd rather lie to you and be like, "Oh no, that's a great idea," you know.
Well, that's because they've never done anything awesome themselves.
Yeah. So, having someone in a friendship, being able to check and be like, "Bro, that's dumb. Like, don't do that. That's stupid." But also, if there is a good idea, to be like, "You know what? I'll do it with you.
Yeah,
like, we'll learn this shit together."
Or this is pretty good, but you can do better, man. I expect, like, I've seen you do better.
Yeah.
Like Adam Calhoun was talking about when he worked with Struggle. He came out and laid some tracks down, and he's like, he came in and then did it in the mic, and he's like, "That's awesome, isn't he?" He's like, "Do it again."
Yeah.
He's like, "Do it again? Okay, I'll do it again." And he went out to his Tahoe and rewrote some more lines, came back in, and totally smashed it. But he was 100% like, "Okay, that's it. Fucking first take. We're gonna do this. That's ready to go."
Yeah.
But what he came out with was like 100 times better, and all it took was Calhoun going, "Man, you're better than this.
Yeah.
Do it again."
Yeah, you need people like that, or you're never going to grow as an individual or a business or anything you do.
That's what we always like. We'll build something, like especially on the videos. We'll build something, and when we're off camera, I'm like, "We can do better than this. Let's do this again." This product, while we could bring it to market, it's not the best out there. Let's fucking add a few things. Let's change these dimensions, and then we'll be ready to go.
Make it the fucking best.
Yeah.
And there's times where I'll find something in there like a year ago, and I'll be like, "What the hell is this? I've never seen this." And he'll be like, "Oh, I've been working on that." It's like, but each time I find a new piece of it, I'm like, "Oh, that's sick. I never thought about why you would do that." And it's like those little things add up after 4 years when he releases it to be, now there's not a problem.
Or we'll have something that I want, and we'll kind of show the progressions of it, but it never really gets the interest I thought it would. So the market just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because if I could just make everything I wanted, I'd just have everything I ever wanted.
Well, you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can.
Yeah.
You can have anything you want. You just can't have everything you want.
Very true.
We're only limited by time.
Yeah, 100%.
But we spend a lot of time, or most people spend a lot of time involved in shit. You hear, "I don't have enough time."
Yeah.
Like, I work 8 hours. No, motherfucker, you're at work 8 hours. You don't work 8 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's the other 16? Let me follow you around. I can find you lots of time.
Yeah. No, 100%. People like to use that excuse too much. And, my wife's wanting to start this jewelry business, so I got her a bunch of stuff to kind of start with that. And she was like, "I just don't know when I'm going to have the time." And I was like, "Do what I do. Like, you just do it. Just like, don't think about it. Whenever you're like, oh, go do that, And it's as simple as that, to where, I get people have kids, I have kids, and sometimes you just got to do things that you want to do, and your kids will be fine.
Yeah, we grew up, so my kids all grew up with me running the business. Like for a while, when I came home from prison, we had 5 kids, and Amanda and myself living in one bedroom at my mom's house. And then later on, when we homeschooled the kids were always at home. So we always had that ability to work. But especially when you're starting some new hobby, and most people sleep 8 hours, right?
Yes.
I go to sleep typically 11:30, and I try to be up by 4:30. So 4 to 5 hours a night.
Yeah.
But for people that sleep 8 hours, if you're not dreaming about that thing you're going to do, and you wake up excited and you're looking at the clock to see if it's time to get up yet, like if you went to sleep at 10 o'clock and you have to get up at 6 o'clock, and then you wake up at 4 in the morning to see if it's time because you're so excited to do it, and you just get up and do it, you can sleep a little less, find those hours. But if you're not so excited that you can't sleep over it, maybe you're not going to do it.
Dude, I don't know if you dream.
Yes.
But dude, I have had dreams thinking about a project where I've solved the problem in my dream.
So
yeah.
The answer to the problem always comes to me in the shower.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Usually, it's wild. Like, the brain is such a crazy thing.
I'll do that. That'll happen to me a lot of times when I'm really excited. Like, we go do urban exploration and stuff, and we'll go to an asylum or a hospital or something, and I'm super excited about it, and I will dream. Even before we've been there, I will picture us going through the building, how we're getting in the building, and have this whole vivid dream as though it had already happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where have you gone with that? Because that sounds crazy cool.
We've done a couple asylums. We've done some hospitals, some abandoned hospitals. Most recently, we went to Cairo, Illinois. The whole town, for the most part, is abandoned. Like, you can just walk in there. There's a few hundred people there, but they either are completely friendly or they completely ignore you. There are so many explorers that come in.
Really?
Yeah, we did this abandoned hospital that had been shut down since the 80s. But it's all still there. It's highly vandalized, but there's still like big infrastructure. The boilers there. You can get up into the rooftop and the elevator carriage. We were in both operating rooms, and like that blue glass is still recessed in the ceiling. And between the two operating theaters on both floors, on the second and third floor, there's two operating theaters, and there's this pass through for the nurses, and all the autoclaves are right there. The sterilizers are in the wall and everything.
Wow.
The elevator is still in place, and then all the light ups for it were still there, all the old like glass bulbs. And then we were in this four-story building, but the middle of the building has this glass, it has a stairwell that goes up kind of spiral, but it's not spiral. But there's the whole elevator encasement is glass. So on each floor it's glass. And then when you get to the fourth floor, there's a little spiral staircase that goes up, and there was like wood blocking it. And I went to move the wood, and the stairwell was gone. So I'm like, I think we're going to save this till I got some more people here in case I fall through this.
Yeah, for sure. You need a med kit.
Yeah. But we were there's an asylum we like to go to that was built in 1890. And it was a Kirkbride originally, and they've torn most of the bat wings off. But the original hospital building is there. It's 3 stories, and there's tunnels. There's 2 miles of tunnels that tie 6 buildings together. And a lot of crazy shit happened. And then there's still an active psych hospital on the property.
Shoo.
So not supposed to be there, but allowed versus able. Just, don't be dumbass, and nobody's going to know you're there. The buildings are so enormous that nobody's ever looking for you.
Yeah, and you could probably just hide, and they just think it's a spooky thing anyway.
Yeah, it's supposed to be super haunted and shit. We've been in the morgue there and the operating rooms and all kinds of stuff.
What's the craziest thing you've had happen?
I haven't had anything happen, man. I was talking to our buddy Coase, and I hit him up when I was heading there. I'm like, hey, where do we park? And he told me, he goes, man, we just left there, paranormal activities through the roof. And I'm like, what happened? And he started sending me these video shots, and we went in, and we were there. My wife and I were there for 7 hours, filmed a ton of footage, came back. We got back about 1 o'clock that night, and I go, did you notice anything? She goes, no, but I wasn't really open to it. And the next morning, he had posted his video up, and they're in the tunnel, and they have like some night shot on the camera or something, and you see this white orb come through his elbow. And he goes, oh my God, something just went through my elbow. It was super cold. I have no doubt that really happened.
Dude, that's crazy.
No doubt at all that truly happened, and they felt that, and he knew that happened. And he was in one of the morgue has 6 body chillers, 3 on top of 3, these pull-out drawers. And he got in there for 30 minutes with an EVP thing. He's like, I fell asleep, and there's all kinds of like whispering and shit on the EVP. So I have no doubt that it happened. We just weren't like open to it. We were so excited to be there. I wasn't looking for like ghosts and shit. I was just like, what room is this? What happened here? Like, there was hydrotherapy tubs, there were isolation rooms on the first floor, because there was like the big hospital has this wing, and then it ties into an identical wing that was built like 50 years later. And in the first one, they had these doors, these giant fucking wooden doors, and you open them up, and there's another door there that just has like a jail cell window that opens up, and they had like shackles on the wall and shit, like, just to think what they were doing to people in these places. And then the things surrounding it, like they basically you had no oversight. So these hospitals were built to house a few hundred people, and then they held thousands of people. And then the government stopped funding it. So you went from having a staff of 100 to a staff of 10, 15 people.
For 1,000 people.
And you had these dudes that just had access to women. And there was a whole bunch of judges. It said that all these judges would come from Memphis and have these gambling nights and just have access to all these women that were captive.
That is crazy.
Yeah, because it used to be up until, I think it was 1953, you as a man could just drop your woman there and go, you found a new girlfriend, so you're like, I'm putting my woman in the hospital. And then out of wed marriages and stuff was really looked down upon, especially with like, religious families and stuff. So they would just kind of hide those girls. Remember, like growing up in high school, I remember like, cause I went to high school, I was supposed to graduate in 91. And like every now and then you have a pregnant girl, but she would disappear and nobody ever thought anything of it. Now it's common to see pregnant kids at school, but where did they go? That's where a lot of those kids went.
Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's fucking wild. The lore and the just insidious shit that's around all of those. It surrounds every one of those hospitals.
Why isn't this talked about more? Because this is a big thing.
It's just in the past.
Yeah.
It's in the past, and now like they came out with Logactyl was, I think it was Thorazine or lithium, right? So we went from basically trying to torture the ailments out of these people.
Yes.
Hydrotherapy tubs, they'd drop them to like 30 degree water or 130 degree water, like would literally burn them. And then they would do electroshock therapy, and then lobotomies where they would separate the front, the lobes. Surgical techniques. You had some doctors that thought that it was from infection, so they'd pull any infected teeth.
So what I want to know is, what were they actually testing for there?
There was no test. There is no test. Still to this day, there is no test where I can take you in and go, you're crazy.
Yeah, but like what were because I feel like they knew the whole spectrum of like these people are just getting dropped off.
I think you just had actually crazy fucking people.
Yeah.
Serial killers and shit.
Yeah.
That nested there and could get away with it.
Yeah.
So when we brought a bunch of Nazi doctors over during Operation Paperclip, right? So they were doing all the twin experiments and all these different things on all the Jewish people in the camps. We brought a ton of those doctors here, and they nested and landed in these asylums. So this kind of got on my radar maybe 10 years ago. No, I was in this building, so 8 years ago probably. I wanted to see, American Horror Story came out, and the first season was Asylum. And I remember Metallica Sanitarium, right? And I always thought Sanitarium was an insane asylum, but it wasn't. That was a tuberculosis ward. It was a sanitarium. So I started doing some research. I just typed in sanitariums near me, and this one very famous called Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
I've heard of that.
It's supposed to be the most haunted place in the United States. Is right over the border in Kentucky. There's not much left of it. The structure's there, but there's nothing there. The body chute where they would take the dead bodies and stuff. So I started watching a bunch of videos on that, and I thought, wow, I wonder if I could buy an asylum. So I just typed in asylums for sale in the United States, and a bunch came up. Just like if you look at castles, there's these huge European castles that have been refitted here in the United States.
That's a dream of mine. I'm gonna live in a castle.
You should.
Yeah,
you 100% should. Have you been to the one in Murfreesboro?
I have not. I've driven past it.
So they actually hand cut a lot of that stone. Like the dude that owns it during the Ren Fair, he opens it up. You should go talk to that dude. Like you guys would get along well.
Yeah.
There's like, you see from the highway, you see a lot of the castle, but that's all there is. But they have added more, and it's like a wedding venue and the 2 towers and shit. Dude, it's really cool in there. And that's all hand cut stone.
That's beautiful.
So I found a asylum for sale in Chicago. It's actually an island. It's like 186 acres. And it had its own fire department, its own power generating facility, because they were all inclusive. They were all towns. And then I started researching. I took that one that was for sale. Then I don't remember the name of it, and I typed it in, and a bunch of stories came up. And what they found was, when Nancy Reagan, Geraldo Rivera had done an expose and went into an asylum, and he found all these men and women just naked, shackled down on benches and stuff, and kind of busted it out. And they were supposed to have to clean it up, and they were going to have an inspection in 6 months. And Geraldo Rivera showed back up in like 5 months, and they didn't clean it up. They had literally walled off part of this and just left people inside. So they found like there was people that had like cystic fibrosis and just other ailments that were not crazy. They just couldn't communicate, and they just stuck these people in these places. So Nancy Reagan got a hold of this, and her pet project was, this is terrible. We're going to close down all these asylums, and just said, be free. And that's when your homeless population started having a lot of crazy people in the homeless populations. So you had all these places sitting now with no power, and you can't tear them down because they're full of asbestos, lead paint, crazy shit. So they'd have these abatement companies come in. So around 2000, these companies started coming in and unfitting these places and pulling the copper and kind of recycling them before they demoed them. And they found a bunch of laboratories hidden in these places with a lot of German notes in the file cabinets and shit. And that's what they were finding, was a lot of these old World War II doctors could continue their experiments on these people who had no outside people. They were just a ward of the state.
Yeah, and they're not going to believe anything.
Yeah, they found all kinds of shit. Babies in jars and amputations in jars, and I mean, you name it, like mad scientist laboratories.
Yeah. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And just people getting dropped off because the dude found a new missus.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and there was Pinterest had some really interesting pictures prior to AI. When you looked up,
now you can't trust anything.
Yeah, haunted asylums, and there was a picture of a big chalkboard reason for intake: masturbates more than twice a day, menstrual flow too heavy, like just crazy shit was on these boards.
Man, I feel like every 18-year-old would be in a psych ward.
Every 15-year-old.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah. Yep.
Hell, maybe now. I mean,
well, I mean, maybe we still need something like that with all the crazy shit that's out there. I mean, I joke all the time. I'm like, we used to take people like that and put them in a place called an asylum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like craziness has gone down in definition a lot.
So well, I think the threshold for acceptance of it's gone down.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you aware? Do you know about like mud flood and Tartaria and all that stuff?
But no.
So there's this whole theory that our history is not what we've been told, and every couple hundred years, a great flood of mud wipes history out.
I have.
Yes. And okay, so there's a lot of people that say, why, when people were living in sod roof houses and struggling to survive, why was the government building these huge, opulent, palatial asylums? These asylums are so like Gothic architecture and just these looming things on the hill when everything was peasants in the village. And a lot of people said that they would take people who remembered the old history, or people that wouldn't take the current modern day vaccinations of the time, or people that were outspoken against the government. They would take them and put them in the asylums. And the asylum was always gated, and it was kind of that looming thing that we would, when I moved here, I'd heard about an asylum called Bolivar. And we always had ladies working for us when we first moved here, and they're like, yeah, Mom said if we misbehaved, she was going to send us to Bolivar. Well, Bolivar is one of the asylums that we had gone through and actually looked through, but that was always the thing growing up here as a child. If you misbehaved in school, we're going to send you to Bolivar.
That's crazy.
They're going to give you a shot, and you're going to drool, and they're going to be tied down to the bed, and that was even like modern day.
Yeah.
But back then, back in the old days, man, you just disappear and you just never be seen again.
Yep.
They have 3,000 unmarked graves out there.
Man, that is a lot of people.
It is. Yeah. All of them have that. Every one of them.
That's so insane.
Were they doing baby things?
So Georgia Tan, there was a Memphis adoption agency, this lady called Georgia Tan. Somebody sent me an article on her, and her name was Baloo, but Georgia was kind of her middle name apparently. So unfleshing that a couple days ago, I found out a lot more on them. There's a whole nother book written about her. There's one called The Others, and then there's another one called The Tennessee Baby Snatchers or something, was a whole nother thing. So what was happening was, out of Memphis, she had this adoption agency, and there was 2 judges that worked at the Bolivar Hospital, and the courthouses are there. I've been in them. Like right when you walk in, there are 2 fucking courthouses, because they're going to take away your rights right then. So you would have pregnant women come in, and they would deliver the babies and then tell the mothers that the baby had died. Georgia Tan would get these babies also from other places, but there are some pictures of her with dozens of babies just swaddled up like on these long couches. She had a penthouse apartment in Memphis. And there was a period in like 1950 when she had overdosed, like at the time, I don't remember what it was, some cough syrup, but it's akin to us giving our kids like overdose of baby Tylenol.
Yeah.
And she killed like 90 of these babies all within a 30, 40 day period. And it kind of got questioned, and well, she was friends with these judges, and they kind of squashed it. Well, she was very meticulous at keeping records. So when she died from cancer, I think in the 60s or 70s, her daughter went through all that, and her daughter's actually the one that busted this out. My mother was actually, killed a lot of these kids. So what they were doing is they were adopting these kids, because back then we were still doing a lot of farming and stuff. So to have farm hands was a big thing. So they would adopt the babies out. A lot of them were said to have gone to pedophiles and just different, fucking satanic type ritual groups. And she was, adopting these kids out. And that's where they were coming from. So all these women would come in there pregnant or get pregnant while in there. And then the baby, your baby died, it's buried out here, when really it was passed through these judges to Georgia Tan.
I'm never going to be able to trust a hospital again.
Well, I don't think you should trust a hospital.
Yeah, I don't.
So like Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, in 1940, 1950, they actually started speaking ill of like medicinal practices, like maybe this plant will heal this ailment, right?
Yeah.
Because they found that they could make pharmaceutical products from petroleum products. And that's when the whole Vanderbilt, we need to have this structure, and we need to be licensed to practice medicine. And there's this huge downlook on chiropractic medicine.
Yeah.
What if we could manipulate you and just fix you rather than putting you on a permanent drug the rest of your life, and then you got to take 2 others to keep the first from killing you.
Yeah, and then all the money involved with that. It's just a big scheme.
Yeah, and it's never to heal you.
Yeah,
it is just
to keep you sick.
Yeah.
Just good enough to keep you alive for the longest physical.
And I think
possible.
that's the big thing with TikTok and your social media right now. People, no matter what walk of life it is, when you have a conversation with somebody who doesn't have any of the beliefs you believe in, you can almost always agree that the medical system is never to heal you.
Yep, 1,000%, no matter who you are.
Yeah, look at the attack like on raw milk. I don't even drink raw milk, but why is raw milk such this devil that they're putting people in jail for selling raw milk, but you can sell raw pork, which everybody knows has all kinds. Look at all the parasites and shit. All these ailments they're finding now are actually ailments and parasites from eating undercooked, contaminated pork. I eat pork.
Yeah.
I'm not an anti-pork dude.
I just cook the shit out of it.
Yeah, but there's definitely something to all of this, right? I like to have the property mode here because we film so much from drone, and we knew this lady Dawn Gorham, and she has like the Middle Tennessee Homestead Alliance, and once every 4th Sunday we meet at her place in Dixon, and she has somebody come in, and it'll be like on beekeeping or on foraging medicinal plants or on making tinctures, and we just happened to go to one, and I'm like, I'm just going because Amanda wants to go. I'll film it. Boy, I was fascinated. And we went out and walked around the property, and she's like, this is thistle, and this is curly dock, and this is spiny dock, and this is, all these plants. And I'm like, I have every one of these. I mow them down all the time. Yeah. So Amanda's like, stop. That's why it looks like a jungle here right now, because we're actually harvesting. Like, she just went out and pulled in 100 pounds of curly dock and milk thistle, and there's one called a spiny lettuce. And when you look at that, when you process this down, they call it nature's. It's a painkiller. Nature's.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know painkillers, but like a highly highly addictive.
I don't know.
What's the liquid one they give you for surgery? Morphine. Liquid. It's nature's morphine. Really? And you process this down and you boil it, and then you do this whole process, but they say it's nature's morphine. So anyway, she's taken and made these whole things, and I'm like, whatever, crazy witch person. But she's like, here, like, because when I lift and work out, I'll have all these wrist problems. She's like, rub this on here. So she's like, your wrist hurt? So for like weeks, right before I go to bed, she'd rub this on. When we wake up, she's like, your wrist hurt? I'm like, no, now that you mention it, it doesn't. And I got up and actually worked out, full workout this morning. So like, we'd been making she makes this pain salve that I'd used for like 6 weeks. And I just mentioned it to some dudes, and like, hey, we want to buy some of that. So she started building. So she has this whole company built on that. That's what that blue house over there, the blue tiny house over there, that's her commercial kitchen that we're putting in there.
That's crazy.
So like, just because we went to this medicinal plant walk for an hour, and Amanda identifies these and then starts fleshing it out. Now she's bought all this equipment that actually processes this. And dude, it's just baffling that you don't have to go to a doctor and get a prescription from a pharmacy for this product you can't pronounce. And then they're like, if you take it with this other thing, your asshole will fall out.
Yeah.
So instead, she's literally harvesting 5 weeds and pulverizing them and putting them together under a heat process in this wax and then rubbing it on. And it works way better than any of the other shit did.
Pretty much anything we need it's out there.
It really seems that way, man.
For sure.
You just have to take control of your life and decide to do it.
And you also have to know, like, that knowledge has been, I mean, this is not proven, I'm sure, but it's probably been taken out.
Concealed.
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah, like a big thing that got on my radar a couple months ago was somebody said, if you find any encyclopedia older than 1950, buy it. So when I started finding, we started literally going and looking for encyclopedia sets on Marketplace and in old bookstores and stuff. And dude, like the history is completely rewritten at about 1950 to current day. Like it's literally been altered. Like I was physically present with a lot of things that happen, and when you search them on the internet, they've completely been modified from the internet.
That's crazy.
But then when you look it up on Wayback Machine, you can see where it's actually been altered on the internet. So you need a physical copy of these encyclopedias and these medical encyclopedias and stuff. And man, they are, and they just within a generation they just change history.
Yeah, it's insane. Even, you know, I have kids that are in school right now. Even just the basic knowledge that they give in school is so much different now.
Well, just look how they're trying to do fucking Common Core math bullshit.
Yeah. How am I supposed to help my child at home?
Well, you're not. It's literally to remove your ability to.
I know. And it's
because crazy liberals typically don't have kids, they have your kids. Think about that. People who don't have kids, why would they want to go be around kids all day long?
Yeah.
And it's because most of those people, it's literally not about your kids. They don't like your way of life, and they can literally affect your life by manipulating your kids and turning them against you. It's just absolutely bizarre. Like we call it public school, but it's not public school. It's government school.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they don't go, you go to jail.
I say that all the time, right?
Like,
so if I decide that my kids aren't going to, I want to have a 3-day weekend with my kids every Monday. Within 3 or 4 weeks, somebody's going to knock on your door and go, you have to go to court.
Yeah.
And then if you still don't send your kids, they're going to put you in jail. When at the beginning of the school year, you should go, you know what, motherfuckers? I don't like what you're doing to my kids. I'm unenrolling my kids from school, and we're going to homeschool them. You literally could have opted out of the system, but because you didn't, they will come and arrest you over it.
Or like if your kids, you know, I had some issues. I was a really small kid growing up. And, you know, I got picked on super hard. And I will not put up with my kids going through that trauma.
You should not.
So if that happened and my kid is too afraid to go to school and that happens, you still have to go to court because of those things, because you already opted in.
Well, if that happens, I'm going to go to court because I knocked his fucking dad out at the front door.
Yeah,
like, that's the problem, right? When when people bully other kids, dad doesn't go and whip their ass anymore.
No, yeah. And, like, I'll be damned if my kids are that, you know, because they're going to be raised that they're not. So
yeah, if you have a child that is being picked on, you should have some friends close enough that a van is going to come and grab up that dude, that fucking kid and that father, and fucking beat the shit out of them in the van and fucking dump them out on the fucking sidewalk.
Yeah, 1,000%. They're going to be missing school for a
little
bit.
Yeah, the other side's going to be missing school.
100%.
Yeah. And that just doesn't happen anymore. People don't take the problems into their own hands.
Yeah. And everyone listening should have those people.
They should.
And they definitely should.
We're building weak people, and like I said, it changes every generation, right? And we just don't, like, kids say I'm hurt. They don't understand the difference between injured and hurt.
Yes.
They don't have difficulties, right? We don't let kids, and even bullying, like there is a fine amount that should be present. Like that kid should have that threshold. Yeah. Like I roughhoused with my kids. My kids were never going to get bullied. Like if they got bullied at school, they're like, is that all you got? Dad did worse than that every time we play fight. Yeah. So, but we don't have calluses, right? We don't let kids play guns. They can't play cowboys and Indians. There's no pushing. They used to put us out, like they would put us out for recess in the morning at like 9 o'clock. And then at lunch for 30 minutes, and then at like 2 o'clock, we'd go out to recess. That's because all the teachers wanted to sit and smoke.
Yeah, yeah.
And we had monkey bars that were, our monkey bars at the school were taller than the school building. Wow. And there's just none of that. I remember kids swinging and the goal was to be able to get the swing to go over.
Yep.
I never saw it happen.
I never saw it happen either, but that was always
But
the
it was
goal.
on blacktop, covered, so you would jump off see how far you could go and land on the asphalt.
Yeah.
There's none of that anymore.
I'm a solid believer. If you actually do get to the top, you're going to a different universe.
You're just going into it.
It has.
That's where the
happened,
Stargate is.
They're gone. Like,
Yeah.
they just disappear.
Maybe so.
Yeah. It might have happened and it's just deleted from your memory because it was so crazy.
Yeah, we used to play tag and dodgeball, and it's just not present. Like you take your kids to a park now, and everything's like safety, and there's no burning hot metal or none of that shit.
Yeah, you don't get to feel the.
There's not even sand.
Yeah.
You can't even scuff your knee in the sand. It's like rubber mulch.
Yep. Which I feel like could be painful as well.
Yeah,
But they don't have anything exciting to get hurt on anymore.
but I mean, we remember those days, so we have to take control of our kids. Like so often, it's said that in 1971 we went off the last vestiges of the gold standard, and up until 1971, a man could work and his wife would stay home and raise the 2.5 kids. And after you paid your bills, you'd put that little bit of money you had left in the bank, and every year that money, at the end of the year, you would have more money. But when we came off of that gold standard, they figured out how to depreciate that money, and it actually lost money. So it was actually not beneficial to hold on to any of your savings, right?
Yeah.
And then they told the woman, well, you're not contributing your part. You need to go out and work also, and then the government will raise your kids. That's when that whole school and the daycare system and everything came in. So you would spend, whoever was raising your kids, it was not you or your wife. And then you would come home completely exhausted, and you'd have a little bit of a conversation with your wife, but you would never really be a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
And that was part, and it comes from the Prussian school system, like in World War I, when they started doing structured school. It was to teach kids how to show up on time, move with a bell, eat in a group, to develop factory workers.
That's crazy. That's exactly what it's like. If
It
you
is.
Yeah.
And if you go to your, like a lot of people saw this during COVID, right? It's because all of a sudden everything's homeschool.
Yeah.
So you'd be standing there listening to this person tell your kids some absolutely insane shit. You're like, what did that motherfucker just say? Is that motherfucker really sitting there in their pajamas on camera with my kid? It's a trip that you take your dog. You want to go out of town, you drop your dog off at a daycare center for the dog, and 24 hours you have a camera. When the fuck don't we have cameras at the fucking public school where we can see what's being said to our kids? Because when you leave your kids at daycare, you can see your kids on camera.
Yeah.
It's because they knew they're doing some insidious shit.
That is very plausible.
So we have to, and so what's the answer, right? We just have to raise our kids.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We have to put ourselves in a position where
Getting to that position, though, is so hard because they want everything to be so hard that you both have to work. So you have to take them to school because childcare is too expensive.
Yes.
And school is free.
Yep.
So
and so you're always in that system.
Everything is set up specifically for you to fail.
It's all a welfare system, right? We took, especially black folks, low income folks, but most of them were black folks, especially like when you look at the projects. We would take and incentivize these women to have multiple children. And when you got on food stamps or you were allowed project housing or government assistance housing, the first thing they say is that the father's not allowed to live in the house. So now you have a woman with these kids and they've pushed the father away. They give the father these huge child support payments that are almost impossible to pay. And then they'll put him in jail because he can't pay them. And now we have this whole slave system, like the federal government especially. You have most federal prisons have an industry or a corporation with them, some kind of factory.
Yep.
They build street signs, they build lockers and stuff. So you have, let's use the lockers or pencils. They make pencils also, for example. So you have GSA, which is government scheduled pricing. So any federal agency or government agency has to buy from GSA schedule. You go buy this wall locker from GSA, you can buy the same wall locker from Home Depot or from Office Depot for 60% less. So the government agencies actually pay 60% more and have to buy from these federal factories. Now the federal factories pay the workers 40 cents a day.
Yeah.
And they just keep them in that system, man.
It's just like the whole elites buying artwork.
Yes.
Like just
Hunter Biden's Ukraine artwork. Yeah, it's all tax evasion.
Yep.
Yeah. So super wealthy people buy artwork because you buy the artwork and then you house the artwork at a gallery, and they pay you for housing it at the gallery, which is tax deductible, non-taxable.
And artwork is the only thing that you cannot prove value.
Correct.
Of.
Yes. So we just assign this price, and now this money's here. Now we can take a loan against this asset. We don't have to secure it. We don't have to insure it. We don't have to air condition it, and it just stays there.
Can we do that?
You can do that if you have enough money.
Yeah, but we don't.
I mean, Hunter Biden took a 4x8 sheet of CDX plywood, painted a Ukraine flag, said it was worth $8 million, and displayed it up in a museum.
Guys, it's arts and crafts time. Let's get some
Absolutely.
stuff rolling.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So how old are your kids?
I have one 3-month-old. It's my first boy. I have a 3-year-old girl and a 9-year-old girl.
Ooh, which one do you think is going to be the hardest to raise?
The middle.
The middle one.
Oren, she's
Because she's a girl, or just because she's the middle?
she's just wild.
They say you're super worried, like you have to keep this little human being alive with your first one, and the second one you're like, it's kind of like this one lived, we can probably get away with more, and the third one you're just like, fuck it, feral kid.
Man, it's definitely the second one for me. Like
That's a good spread too.
Yeah,
that's a good age spread.
She's like an animal. It's scary sometimes.
Is that something you did different, or is it just her?
She's just that's just her mentality. You know, she's I'm not worried about her. She's gonna make it, you know.
Yeah, my buddy Evan from Radio Made Easy, he's got his oldest daughter, absolute genius. Like just little genius, like running a business already. I think she's 5 or something. She's reading books that are like 13-year-old age books and stuff. But the next one, she's like, she'll beat up the 5-year-old. Like the 3-year-old will just put a beating on the 5-year-old. And he's like, I don't worry nothing about her. Like she will just stab you.
Yeah, that's exactly how mine is. Because my oldest one, you know, super sweet, like cares about people, and that's great. That's what I love about her. But the middle one just
that's how Evan's kids are. Yeah, and then he's got a new baby boy.
Yeah,
same thing. How'd you meet your wife?
Tattooing.
Were you working on her or what?
So I was in this. So my first studio I opened, I partnered with someone, and it just didn't work out. But he hired her for a period of time, and I didn't want her working there because she just first started tattooing. Obviously, he hired her because of the way she looks. And, you know, I was like, you know, whatever, just don't mess with her. This is a place of business,
not a lawsuit.
And it turns out that I started messing with her, and now we're married. So
got it.
That's the story.
Did you have a sweet pickup line?
No,
nothing.
No. See, when I first started being around her, you know, I was married at the time, so I was like trying to just not acknowledge her at all because I was, you know, I know she looked good, but I was like, you know, I'm not gonna pay any attention. So I would just, she talked to me, I'd just not reply to her at all. So she thought I was a dickhead. And then I just slowly started talking, and I was like, you know, I'm not happy, so just change it up. And you know, it was the best thing I ever did.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
And how long you guys been together?
Put me on the spot. About 6-7 years now.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool. And she's on board with all your shenanigans?
Yeah. You would think that she wouldn't be, but she's actually really supportive of everything I do, unless it's a stupid idea, which I'll probably still do, but she won't be supportive of it.
Mine probably is mine. We call it co-signing your bullshit.
Yeah.
And she'll co-sign all my bullshit.
Yeah.
Like the craziest shit. Like, yeah, we should totally do that. Like, I almost have to have do you really mean that? Because I'm about to do this.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that comes with time though, because they, like, in a relationship, you know, I wouldn't put up with my bullshit. I know that. There's no way I would be able to do that. So like, you have to prove that the stuff you're doing, the bullshit that you're doing, will work out, and then through time it'll be like, okay, no matter what, he's gonna make something happen out of this. So
yeah, and sometimes it's like that path, man. It's like a clock. It's at 12 o'clock. And you start this journey, and then it's 12 o'clock in 1 second.
Yeah, yep.
Mile down the road, it looks the same, but 5 miles down the road, it started as the same thing, but just that slight deviation is the thing that actually hits big or monetizes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's crazy.
From the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest to try. My family, SOE.